Yeah, first of all, I just want to say, like, I really appreciate everyone coming. It's, me and Pablo talked about doing this event for a little bit now. And yeah, it's just been a really awesome experience. It's been like, it exceeded my expectations. So hopefully it did the same for you guys. Hopefully you guys are fucking having a good time exchanging numbers and Instagrams. So just gonna talk a little bit about my life. And honestly, guys, like the whole point here is like the two main ideas of events like this are to get the right people together in one spot. And I really feel like this group of people, especially when you can bounce ideas off of each other and you can, talk about business. And admittedly, I fucking assed out last night. I know that there was some good conversations that happened after that and at dinner beforehand, and there will be good conversations and connections made, in the future. So yeah, whatever you guys want to do, take notes. If you do or don't, it doesn't necessarily matter. But the whole entire point of like this event and this trainings going forward is like network with the right individuals, and then also so you guys can have a totally different perspective on like the coaching business. And no matter where you are in your business, I genuinely believe that anybody that watches this training or is like involved in this mastermind is going to benefit in their business. So $130 Chromebook to 100K a month and a life of meaningful impact. All right, so this is like pretty short and sweet. This first one, this is just a little bit about my story, and then the next one is about the identity shift and a little bit more of like a perspective shift before we get into the trainings. Ultimately, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break down my entire business model to like how I got to 100K a month, with my team, everything. I'm literally gonna peel back the entire layer of my business. So tap in because I'm gonna be dropping some sauce. 3 years ago, I started this business. I was driving Uber in Philly, had less than 1,000 followers on TikTok, and I ran my business off of a $130 Chromebook. I actually used to live with Nick in his house, in his brother's room, and I got this $130 Chromebook off of Amazon, and I used it for like years and years to like write all my programs on it. Before I did Uber and Lyft, I was spraying weed killer in New Jersey and on 30,000 square foot lawns. So to give you guys an idea, like if you've ever did like a step counter and did like 10,000 steps like for the day, we used to do like 20, 25,000, 35,000 steps some days. And basically what we would do is we would just spray lawn fertilizer, and it was manual labor as fuck. And the reason that I like to like explain the nature of the job is because it was very much like you're at this job and no one's fucking thinking that, oh, we're gonna make content, we're gonna be successful on social media. Like no one's thinking that, no one has like a positive, you're not surrounded by positive mindset. Like you have to force yourself to think positively. You get what I'm saying? So like the reason that I like to explain that is because it's just so real. You know what I mean? Because most people are at like shitty fucking jobs, when they want to start these businesses, and it's just really hard to break out of that. So you kind of have to be like, you have to have an open mind. So turning point for me, I realized that what really separates those that break through isn't talent or luck, but really a shift in how they see themselves and their circumstances. So when I worked my job, the $18 an hour job, something that actually really shifted my life to like more of a route of success was this. I was a job hopper. Pablo knows. He's he would like pick me up and take me to jobs sometimes. I like would quit a job if I didn't like it. And this last job that I worked before I started social media was lawn treatment, like I said, and I made $18 an hour. And like I said here, I gave my best not because the job was special, but because I knew my habits would outlast my circumstances. Essentially, I got to a point where I had worked so many jobs and I had been so tired of fucking just doing the runaround, being on fucking Indeed, in a random ass parking lot and being like, I need to find a job and just trying to pull it together. And I was like, okay, like what can I learn from this manual labor job that seemingly most people would not see the opportunity, and what can I learn from this lame job essentially? And basically I turned that lame job into, my boss really respected me. He really liked me. And ironically enough, the things that I learned at that job and all the traits that I adopted eventually led me to leave. So I actually still have respect for the person that I worked for. But the reason I'm saying this is because I made a decision at that job that I was going to just do my best and I kept getting like dollar raises. Now, one thing that job did show me was that if I really did apply myself, I could be successful. Like I could make small incremental improvements in my life, but it also revealed the fact that it doesn't matter if you're in the wrong vehicle, right? Which was lawn care, right? Work ethic, big vision, but if you're in lawn care and it's not really like your thing, you're not going to be successful in it, right? Obviously anyone would know that because there has to be a level of, like authenticity and like, hey, like this is what I want to do with my life. Like this is what I want my business to be. Like I said, so character building, manual labor. So something that I want to talk about too, which is pretty profound, is like spiritual nudges and just like little spiritual inclinations. So when you're fucking in your 20s, you don't really understand business. You don't really understand life, right? When you're like in your early 20s, trying to figure out your life, trying to figure out your business, and you kind of have to go by feeling. Something that I started to do is really like tap in and like, call it God, universe, whatever you want to call it. I just really started to almost like welcome these like spiritual nudges, and instead of like writing things off where like, you'd have like a vision of like, oh, I could start a fucking TikTok account, have hundreds of thousands of followers and start a business, like how your initial self would write those things off. Instead, I would welcome those things and really sit on them and really ponder on them. And that's actually what really started to lead me to, okay, well, I can slowly become the person that I want to. And I almost felt like it was like the universe and God will call you to, it almost feels like it will call you to that, but it's up to you to see it as an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? It's up to you to see those feelings like in the most simple way. It's like when you're a little kid and you like lay in bed and you think about like what you want to be when you grow up, right? Like the simplest way, but having those feelings as an adult as well. The most successful entrepreneurs don't just have business acumen, they have spiritual awareness. They trust the nudges that others ignore. So energy creates money flywheel. So this is a really profound concept that I want to talk about. So when I left that job, I had no money, but something that I did have was time, and I had energy, right? So drive and energy, like, in that sense. What a lot of people don't realize is that when they leave a job, just, they get very hung up on the fact that the income is no longer going to be there, which makes sense, right? It's the most logical way of looking at it. But that's what holds most people back. Now, it's funny, right? Because we will do things, right? And we'll base it off of statistics, but then like you actually look around you and then you come to realize that you don't even really know anyone that is like part of that statistic. You don't really even know anyone that does this. And I'll explain it in this sense. You would hear things like, okay, well, if you want to leave your job, create a fucking, 3 to 6 months expenses and have all this shit and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, who the fuck do you know that did that? Like, who do you know that does that? Who do you know that will actually take that money and save it, set aside their fucking bills and blah, blah, blah? Or is it more often and more consistently we see people going all in, and then what happens? Their fucking rent is due in fucking 12 days and magically they fucking have the rent fucking 2 days before their rent's due, right? And the reason that is because like just like money can be a resource, that time and that energy can be a resource as well. So this is what creates the energy money flywheel. So like I said, the energy, the drive became my currency. Consistent action channeled that energy into relentless content creation and genuine connection with my audience. So I've explained this to Pablo and Nick before, but it was almost like because I quit my job and because I had no income, and at the time my bills were the most expensive they had ever been. I just financed a car and I just like got my first studio apartment. I knew that, okay, I need to pay my bills some way, somehow. So yeah, I was doing like the Uber and Lyft stuff, but that is what really helped propel me in my business, was the fact that I had fucking bills to pay. Like, it's so simple. I have people that will, they say like, it's so funny the way you answer questions on your Instagram story, because you're always like, what are you gonna do? Like, just not pay your rent, like blah, blah, blah. And like, it's so true. You know what I mean? It's like, what motivated and inspired me was that I would be evicted if I didn't pay my bills. Like, it's that fucking simple. So I quit my job, didn't have money, had to make money some fucking way, somehow. I was already 25, so in a way it was a blessing, because as most people would think of it as an ailment, they're like, well, I'm not college educated, blah, 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 blah. I didn't go to a trade, which justifiably I could have said, and I did make those excuses. At that point, I'm like, I have nothing fucking else to do. What am I gonna do, right? So it's like, when people were, I would see people in public and they would be like, oh, are you making TikToks? I'm like, yeah. That's it. That's all I got left. Like, sorry, in the funniest way, right? So I really became narrowed down to it, but it ended up being a blessing because, I obviously doubled down on it and got a return on it. So my energy translated into value people could feel through the screen, making them want to invest. So this is where I really started to turn that energy and that drive into an actual business. And I did that by just really recognizing what I was good at, right? And sometimes I'll have younger guys that come into the program and maybe they're in their earlier 20s and blah blah blah, and it doesn't necessarily matter, but I always tell them it's like all you have is all you have. Like that's it. All you have is the resources that you have. It's what you know, all the experience that you have in your life, and that's all you can speak on, and that's great. And just become an expert at that, and that's actually where the great content and the value will come from, right? So financial return, that value eventually returned as financial opportunity, completing the cycle. So this is the energy creates money flywheel, where you don't have money, right? You quit your job, you have no income, but you have time and you have energy, and through consistent action, you create value and you get a financial return because of it. So this is a fucking funny ass picture. It's like a samurai. This is just like an AI picture. So something that really fascinated me was the fact that, and I used to actually think this when I was younger, I used to think that you were either like born rich or not born rich. You just would never, you either have money or you just don't have money. And something that I learned actually through the MF CEO podcast, who Andy Frisella, a lot of you guys know who that is. He's the entrepreneur, he owns First Form. He would always say success and the traits behind success are like a learned thing, right? And it's something that can be taught. And I always held on to that, and something that I started to almost feel like was, if my internal dialogue, like the things that I said to myself, like the conversations in my head were positive, I started to look at it as a superpower. The way I started to look at it was like, no one really knows about the conversations that I have in my head, and I can just present myself any way I want, but I'm the only one that really like knows what goes on in here. And I started to think like, okay, well, statistically or whatever, like we're all gonna go experience like relatively the same things in life. Like everybody's different, right? But I started to think like, okay, if the battle is won or lost in my head, then if the conversations in my head improve, then my life is gonna improve. And this last thing that I said here, cultivated through constant mental action, is like actually being aware of when you're thinking like a fucking normie. Like, you understand what I'm saying? When you're thinking like an average person, like catching yourself and being like, wait a second, that's not a high level thought. Like someone that wants the things that I want, that belief system doesn't align with what I want. The only way that happens is you literally catch yourself doing it. Just like an average person will write these things off, right? They'll be like, it's just the way it is. A successful person doesn't. They take control of the thought. Get what I'm saying? So that's essentially what I'm talking about when I say that. I gave myself permission, no one else would. They see the Lambo, guys. When I was doing Uber, I drove literally in a flood, and my car like was moving in water, like at a certain point when I was driving in Philly. And that was just a moment for me, because that was the same week that I drove till like midnight to pay my rent, because I had like and I had to get like a $200 day on Uber to pay my rent in Allentown. And that was that was only 3-4 years ago. I sold stuff out of my apartment as well. So yeah, I fucking started my business like very loosely, and we're gonna talk about that in the next. I have like a next slideshow presentation's like quicker, but I would literally sell shit out of my apartment. So it's not like I just fucking started making content and I was successful out of nowhere. It definitely wasn't like that at all. I knew that authenticity would be my savior. This is kind of going back to what I just said before, was all you have is all you have. So you have to be resourceful. Get what I'm saying? I always just think like, just being like from fucking like Mount Bethel and like Bangor, it's just like nothing is going on, and you just have to create your own opportunities. Like nothing's happening. You have to just fucking, what the fuck else are you gonna do? You have to pick up your phone, make content. That's like, I always looked at it as the ticket. You know, I always looked at it as like the ticket to success. I built it all in the dark. This is going to be very relatable for pretty much everybody in this room. The lights didn't come on until I proved I could keep walking in the dark. This is the hardest truth that anyone has to accept about, you know, wanting to be successful and wanting to make money, is that most of the, you know, the glory and the fucking recognition and buying cool shit and doing stuff like this, obviously, like is amazing, but it's really like 1% of it. You know what I mean? 99% of this shit is the result of working in the dark, right? You know, moving and when no one's watching and really validating yourself, you know, where you're not really looking to other people for approval. You're just fucking moving because you're convicted in your mission, you know what I mean? And your purpose runs deeper than just surface level. So I also have a quick section here about like just dark moments, and how, you know, things aren't always as bad as they seem, but I've always used like those moments as like propellers of success in my life. So that's kind of just like some overarching themes about my story that I wanted to go over. And this is just like one last thing before, you know, we kind of get into like the rest of the mastermind. When I was working my manual labor job, right? So think about this, right? Even I was talking to Brendan yesterday when we were driving, and you're like, yeah, it kind of happened like all like really fast, right? And I was saying like, yeah, it seems like it did happen fast. And like in the last 3 years, I made a lot of progress, but there, like, you know, and then we like talked about, it's really, there's like 10 years behind all of that, right? So much shit behind that. But really what ends up happening is like two things, right? I talk about it in my content a lot, where it's like, you become what I call, it's like narrowed down by suffering. Like you just get to the point where you're not like a fucking like 21-year-old fucking young buck and people are like, you go get him. You know, you're like 25 and people are like, yo, why don't you have your shit together, right? And I had to have a real conversation with myself about like, okay, if I keep going on the path that I'm on right now, right, I'm going to be spraying fucking lawns at age 30, right? And I'm gonna be 30 in October. This was essentially 5 years ago. I had this conversation with myself 4 years ago, and I said, if I keep going like this, I'm literally gonna be spraying lawns in my 30s. And again, I was at a company where it was a small company, a lot of growth opportunity, and I worked my ass off to make those opportunities at that business, right? But then I had to leave. And the reason I'm saying this is because I had a really, really honest conversation with myself, and I said, I don't care what happens, because I'm essentially willing to like lose everything and start from rock bottom and over and over and over again, because I just became in denial, right? I was like, there's no way that I can live the rest of my life like this next 5 years. So there is going to be, I'm going to talk a lot about strategy today, of course, but what actually is the difference between success and failure? And I was talking to Nick about this before, because he was like, yo, this is a really good group of guys. And I said, you know, and he said he's talking to a couple of different people and they all kind of said the same things. They all have like the same belief systems and they have the same, you know, they believe the same things about the business. What I said to Nick, I was like, you'll notice like that people carry similar traits, right? It's like everyone that's successful, like Evan, right? Evan, one of my most successful clients, right? We know that there is so much weight in the strategy, right? And it works, but nothing works unless you do, right? Like you have to wake up every day and be driven. Like you have to want to fucking win. You have to want to literally, like, as crazy as it sounds, like want to rip motherfuckers' heads off, you know? You want to be a savage. You want to provide for your family and then some. Like you want to be that motherfucker in your town, in your area, you know, wherever you're in your sector. It's really important, you know? I think that it's, you know, like a lot of men have that thought and they write it off, but I don't think you should do that. And I think you should grab a hold of it and just take it seriously, right? And at the end of the day, me and Pablo talk about this too. It's like, you gotta be fucking psycho if you wanna be successful, you know what I mean? So yeah, so that's just a little bit about my story. Another really quick thing before we get into this. This is more so like an identity shift that I want everyone to more so present themselves with, and also talk about the new era of fitness coaching, which what I believe is the new era of fitness coaching. So the no victim mindset, the two pillars of the no victim mindset essentially are like radical ownership and speed. So like just literally just like taking responsibility for your actions and moving really quick. Very simple. Everything is your fault. total responsibility. One of the biggest things for me was the fact that like I kind of realized at age 25 that like the core reason that I was in the situation that I was in is because I actually blamed other fucking people for my problems, right? And even if you don't outright say it, you can admit it in other ways, right? And if I believe that if you're not fully grasping your full potential, that's another way that you can inadvertently blame other people for your problems. Now I have this thing called this Sunday night self-audit, and there's gonna be a lot of things too in this training and these things that I'll literally say like, hey, like I don't fucking take out my notebook and do this every night or in between fucking meals, like, you know, like sometimes I do certain things like that, but a lot of these things are like mental frameworks of thinking and more so something that you have to embody. Does everyone make that makes sense for everyone, right? It's just something that has to like almost become a part of you, like a character trait, right? Same thing with like this, like ownership language shift is these, your subconscious mind is like a recorder, right? So like even if you're like self-deprecating and you think it's like funny and like blah, 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 it's like your subconscious mind knows that, right? So if you, what you think about yourself is always what you're gonna get, you know, in the world. Like I said before, fast action, the speed advantage, literally one of the main reasons why, you know, my business is at 100K plus a month is because I just move really quick. And that's another thing that I was talking to Nick about. It's like everybody in this room, like we all are aware of our strengths and our weaknesses, but we double down on our strengths and that's why we're successful. Like it's so simple, you know what I mean? Like there is literally no fucking point in beating yourself up about shit that you can't necessarily like change overnight, but an awareness of the things that the areas that you're falling short, of course, right? But the difference is the people that are, you know, successful, they're doubling down. Like, yeah, there is 100% a level of imbalance and that is okay. It's all good, right? So again, before we get into this, because there's gonna be a lot of belief systems that you have to break before you understand these trainings. So something that I do that a lot of people don't really know about or take advantage of is like deep work blocks. So there's a lot of people, and I think it's just so funny. It's so funny to me because there's a lot of people that they always go, like other coaches and I'll say like business coaches that do this, and they go on their social media and they always brag about the hours that they work and the hours and they work and the 12 and the 14 and the blah, blah, blah. And the truth is like no motherfucker is actually at 100% all gears locked in for 12 hours a day, like working. The best work gets done in those deep work blocks when you can be creative, especially as a business owner in the online coaching space when you want to scale to 100K a month, because you're gonna have to delegate things to other people. And you as the business owner are gonna have to be the core creative of your business, creating essentially becoming like the producer, right? If you were like in a fucking band in a studio, you would be like the producer of an album. So what's most important is you keeping your head clear and really being able to work on high leverage tasks and be focused. Dopamine detox. Now, again, this is not, this almost seems like a buzzword, but the reason I'm saying this is because one of the things for me is like, I'm super self-aware of things that distract me. So I create like the most like ideal scenario for work. Now, some people are different. Some people do different things, but like I actually have like a strategy that I do and certain things that I like engage in that goes into environment design as well, where like I set up my work area a certain way. Like I don't think I fucking have ever started a work block and not had some sort of caffeine like ready to go. Like fucking literally like, I don't know, 200, 300 milligrams caffeine in already at that point, right? Headphones on, and like a lot of times I can have nothing else on my desk if I'm actually doing that deep work. So this is another one too, which is why everyone is here, is the strategic recovery. I was talking to a mentor of mine, and this dude does like 350K a month. And he was like, yeah, I will work like 90-day like stints where I'm working like all day long, right? Like, you know, from, you know, sun up to sundown, I'm really putting in these longer hours. And then what he'll do is he'll take like a week-long vacation and he'll really just go all out. Like he'll go to Spain for 5 to 7 days and he'll like, you know, get drunk, take shrooms, whatever the fuck he wants to do, you want to do, whatever you want to do. I think it's really important, like moments like this, it's a hack, right? Once you have to get out of like the Neanderthal way of looking at success, right? And what I mean Neanderthal is like hard work all the time, like blah, 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 like not thinking, like just use your fucking brain and like work focused, pull back while other people are stressed the fuck out about getting leads. They're not making sales, all this bullshit. You already have the systems already fucking in play and you're smoking a fucking joint on the beach, not giving a fuck because you followed the organic funnel ecosystem, which I'm gonna teach everybody today. Future-based identity, become your six-figure self. So this picture cut off, but I talked to Pablo about this before. And I literally used to sit in, my car and, before I had the Lamborghini, I used to imagine myself as this person, like literally tatted up to the hands, neck, face, slick back hair, and maybe not a Lamborghini because I didn't fucking know what a Lamborghini was. I didn't know anything about that shit. I just realized, learned what a Rolex was like 2-3 fucking years ago. The reason I'm saying that is because it doesn't matter. I knew I would have the watch. I knew I would have the car. I knew it would have the fucking hair slicked back, the tattoos, all that shit, because I just imagined it. And I didn't care about, it's just too hard to think about all the details. I don't know. All I know is that this ain't it. This ain't my best, right? Back then, right? And obviously everyone can do better. Everyone has potential, but those are the conversations that I had with myself about like, dude, I want to be this fucking person. I don't give a fuck what I have to do. I'm gonna become this version of myself. Cut the dead weight. So this is obviously another big reason why these things are so important. Getting around the right people. You've probably heard before, like success is not necessarily about addition, but it's actually like a reduction process and get rid of the things that are not necessary, rid of the things that don't keep you focused. Normalizing power. I'm for sure that there's been a lot of conversations about how success is normal, right? In these rooms that we've been in, right? At dinner, right? And whatever. And that's really good because outside of rooms like this, guys, people just, they don't care. Like, we're talking about the majority of men. The majority of men are they're stupid as fuck and they're broke as fuck because they don't care, right? And it's one thing being broke and not trying to improve, and another thing about being broke and just not caring, right? Not being a man that adds value to society. And I think it's just a waste of talent. It's a waste of potential. The next part is, so stories holding you back. So I just wrote some things down, and these are more like more so like quotes that could like mean that you have certain belief systems, right? I need to lower my prices. I'm not interested, or I'm not interesting. I don't want to be salesy. The market is too saturated. So something that I think that gave me a lot of an advantage over in the market, especially starting my fitness coaching business, was the fact that I just was like delusional about it. I was like, I'm never gonna run out of content ideas. I'm never gonna run out of leads. I'm like, I just feel like, whatever, God is on my side. Sure. Doesn't matter if it's placebo. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. It fucking worked. And then everyone's like, oh, scratching their head. It's because I have the strategy and I have the drive, but it's because I believe that it comes from a different place, right? So like, and a lot of these things too, it's like, this belief system is like, once you elevate past this level, you don't think like this anymore. Like, these things don't come into your head. So I want to talk about goals versus standards. So goals are dreams, standards are boundaries. Goals can be missed, but standards can't be violated because essentially it's like the bottom for you. 100K a month, and essentially this is really the model behind my 100K a month system. I talked to one of my coaches, and this dude, again, 300K a month, and he was telling me, he's like, he's like, when you hang around people, he's like, if you don't hang around people, if you don't hang around people that treat 100K a month like it's a normal financial standard, he's like, then you're never gonna make 100K a month, and it's always gonna seem far and out of your reach. And when he said that to me, I was like, it's so true, right? And like, even with the Lamborghini, where it's like, I love the Lamborghini, I love the car, and of course, like when you see it for the first time, you're like, oh my God, it's so amazing, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, when the Lamborghini does become normal, and it has become a lot more normal than when I first got it, I know it's only a good thing. Whereas other people would be like, it's like, oh, it's like the material things aren't hitting the same. See, Gabe? It's like, no, it's because I'm about to go even harder. Like, literally, right? The second I fucking get in the Lamborghini, what'd I say to you, Pablo? I looked at him, I was like, we need to go way harder. The second I fucking got in the Lamborghini, because it's not about the car, right? It's just about what the car signifies. It's really a checkpoint. And like, the checkpoint already happened. So again, creating a sense of normalcy behind like, yeah, 100K a month is just normal, right? $25,000 a week. That's just normal. So non-negotiables for your business and life, which is like part of the reason why like I've just always been lean since I was like fucking 15 years old, is because I've always had these standards for fitness. So one thing that everyone I believe should do for sure, if anything, is they should 100% mark down a business related, one singular business related goal, like today in your notes on your notepad, that you want to hit within the next 30 days. You can even do that now. You can do it throughout the training, but you know, if it comes to your head or if you already have one, and just like really think about, okay, what's the fucking goal? Like, what is the goal that's really gonna drive me in the next 30 days financially? Like, be super fucking like numbers about it, right? 100K a month, right? You know, 50K a month, whatever it is. Hit your first 10K a month in the business, whatever the fuck it is, it doesn't matter. Set that goal for yourself, write it down. And also, when you do write it down, because I've never really been into the typical like create a vision board and do all the affirmations and blah, 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 blah. It's like, dude, what the fuck? There's so many of them. But something that has played a major fucking part in my just getting things done, like this mastermind, for example. The big reason that this mastermind happened is because every single day when I would start my workday, I would see goals for 2025, host a high level mastermind. And I would look at it over and over and over and over and over again. And it's just like, all right, well, like I would get things done, right? I would cross things off the list. And I'm like, well, I have to do this, right? And I was joking with Pablo. I was like, I did it because I wrote it down, you know? And I was joking with this girl the other day. I was like, yeah, I'm having this high level mastermind. 10, guys are coming in, blah, blah, blah. I was like, because I wrote it down. I was like, the only reason it happened is because I wrote it down. Again, I'm saying that because there's power in not only writing your goals down, but consistently reminding yourself of what they are and keeping them on the forefront of your mind. So 3 things that I want to talk about: the new era of coaching beyond tactics, and this is more so like a level of like who you need, things that you need to embody, I believe, to be massively successful in this business, especially in 2025. First one is Servitude. I talk about this a lot in my content. And that's just really giving your clients an amazing experience, of course, but also in your content and in just your life, is like creating value for other people, right? Like transparently, like this is a very core concept of this event, right? Is Servitude, right? I wanted to give back to you guys and have this event and just have it, right? Just having the event, being able to get all these people together. Like I said, the whole goal is for you guys to get a return on it. So authenticity, this is one of my core values, guys. One of my highest core values is just being real. Understanding that your story has value, like your life story, your experiences. And then number 3 is intensity. So intensity, not being number 3, not any less important. If anything, it's just as important, maybe on a different level, and more so something that is like an underlying theme of who you are. And I believe that everyone in this room understands intensity and is intense in like their own way, for sure. Like everyone in this room has their own level of intensity, and you knowing how to utilize it can be a massive strength in your business and in your life. So like I said right here, play to win, not just survive. The biggest difference in success and failure is literally waking up and being like intensity is free. Like you can just wake up every day and be like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck that I don't know how to do this shit. I don't care that I don't have the genetics. I don't care. I'm just gonna move. And that's always been empowering for me, right? And like, then that's when other people kind of look at you. I don't know what the fuck happened here, but that's when other people look at you and they're like, what the fuck is he on? And you're like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just doing it, because when you start moving, you pick up the pieces as you go. That's really how you learn. So I believe that concludes. Yep. So become who you need to be. The business grows when you grow, period. You don't need a new tactic. You need to become a new person. So I've talked about this on group calls. Zach and Evan and Brandon and Brendan, I talk about a lot about how you are actually the bottleneck. You will always be the bottleneck in your business. You know what I'm saying? The business's growth is limited by your personal growth. You know, with Evan, for example, like now bringing in a setter and then hiring your sales team, it's like, and Alex, you know how this goes, like having to lead other people. It's completely fucking different than just hustling. And you know that first it's like, you're like, well, you know, you tell people, you're like, do this, they fuck it up. Then you're like, oh, I need to tell them like every little fucking thing to do, right? Pablo, you bringing on your employees, right? There's a different level of growth that is involved. And really, ultimately, the space that allows that to happen is when you understand that you become the limiting factor in that. So that's it. If you guys want, we can take a 10, 15 minute break, kind of stretch out, and then just do a little coffee, a little water.